Let's speak to Giles Gibson now in Latvia. Giles, do we know if President Erdogan from Turkey spoke to the Ukrainian President Zelensky as well, and what response, if any, from Kiev or the Kremlin?
Well, we know that Recep Tayyip Erdogan, the Turkish president, actually made this same offer to Vladimir Zelensky, the Ukrainian president, when they had a telephone conversation on Wednesday. What's not clear at this stage is if either leader is prepared to really take that first step and say, yes, I'm prepared to travel to Turkey to meet with my counterparts. At this stage, still unclear if either man is prepared to do that. In the meantime, talks are continuing at a lower level between those two delegations, the Russian and the Ukrainian delegation, that have met several times in person, as well as holding video talks. Dmitry Peskov, Vladimir Putin's spokesperson, saying that the Russian side is making a colossal effort, but he's also saying that they're not seeing such zeal. That was the word he used, translated from Russian, from the Ukrainian side. We're getting a little bit of a different version of events from Vladimir Zelensky's team. One of his negotiators, one of his advisors, saying that these negotiations are complicated and there are just certain lines that they are not prepared to cross. Chief amongst those really is not handing over any territory to Russia that they see as Ukrainian sovereign territory.
All right, then. What are you hearing from Ukraine? Kiev has just lifted a 35-hour curfew. What are the developments?
Yeah, that 35-hour curfew finished in the early hours of Thursday in Kiev. The mayor, Vitaly Klitschko, sort of gave some reasoning as to why he was putting it in. He said that it's a difficult and dangerous moment, but he didn't really explain exactly why that 35-hour curfew was needed. In the meantime, we're seeing a lot of damage, a lot of fighting on the outskirts of Kiev, in towns and small cities surrounding it. But as yet, Russian forces have just not been able to penetrate, right into the center of Kiev, or even that close to the center. And that really is mimicking what we're hearing from British intelligence. They've been putting out updates on the sort of the big picture, what they believe is going on the ground inside Ukraine. And they have said that they believe that the Russian offensive is getting bogged down, that the Russians are taking pretty heavy losses. So that's the situation so far in terms of the Russian offensive in this conflict.
We heard from the Russian ambassador to South Africa, I think it was yesterday or the day before, saying that in fact Russian troops are showing real restraint and they don't want to go into cities. They're trying to remain on the outskirts. Sometimes human shields are being used. But in light of that being said, just confirm some of the reports coming out of Ukrainian cities and what is happening around those residential blocks or the reported targets, because yes, I think for people listening in, there's conflicting information about what's being targeted in cities in Ukraine.
Yeah, absolutely. I was actually in Moscow at the start of the invasion, and throughout this, from the Russian Ministry of Defense, from the Kremlin, we've been hearing time and time again, it is this refrain that you're hearing from Russian officials, that they are not targeting civilian infrastructure, that they are only going after military targets. But clearly there is mounting evidence that that is not the case. And chief amongst that at the moment, of course, is that theatre in the city of Mariupol in the south of Ukraine, that besieged city in the south of the country. This theatre, the Ukrainian authorities are saying, was hit by a Russian airstrike, that it contained hundreds of civilians who were sheltering inside. And there is even satellite imagery coming out to show that they made a sort of a makeshift sign, sort of spelled out in large letters on the ground outside of that theatre, the word in Russian for children, so trying to warn off any potential airstrike. Russia has denied that its forces targeted that theatre, but clearly, once again, just there is mounting evidence to show that civilians are being caught up in this conflict.
All right, thank you very much. Giles Gibson, live from Latvia.